with details revealed regarding WWE ensuring Brock Lesnar's return following Vince McMahon's retirement and more. This is Wrestling Hub. My name is John and you're watching the Wrestling Report for July 24th. Before we get into the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Hub and turn on all notifications to stay up to date with everything in the world of pro wrestling. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Wrestling Hub Official and follow us on Twitter at Wrestling_Hub. Talking about her upcoming title defense against Ronda Rousey at SummerSlam, SmackDown Women's Champion Liv Morgan said on the Smackdown Lowdown, "Megan, everyone is entitled to their own opinions. Let me tell you what I know for fact. When Ronda goes home, she goes home to a beautiful, beautiful little baby girl. She goes home to a husband that she's madly in love with. When she goes home, her time, her attention is split. When I go home, all I focus on is this. I live, sleep, eat, breathe for this. I know this is the biggest match of my life. I know I'm in for the fight of my life, but it is impossible for anyone to tell me they're more passionate about this than me when this is all I've ever loved my whole entire life." On Sportskeeda, Steve Austin spoke about seeing a recent WWE house show where Drew McIntyre defeated Sheamus in the main event. He said Drew and Sheamus headlined the card, and they had a tremendous main event. They went probably at least 20 minutes, almost like an anything goes match, and they tore the house down. They were a great main event, and everybody loved it. Drew McIntyre was just still doing great things. Hell, Sheamus, I love where they've got him figured right now. They came back after the match and said, "Hey, what do you think?" I said, "Come on guys, y'all got 40 years of experience between you. Y'all been in the business longer than I ever was. What can I tell you guys? You're two professionals, two super great human beings, and two Hall of Famers. And all of these Hall of Fames that I've been in, they'll go in as well." Talking to the Hindustan Times, Seth Rollins made it known that he is going to face Roman Reigns down the line. I live inside his head rent-free. So whether or not he's champion after SummerSlam, there is definitely going to be another Rollins-Reigns match down the road. We have a lot of unfinished business, but most importantly, anytime you see Rollins versus Reigns on the marquee, you know there's going to be money involved. You know it's going to be big business. So when we get back to it, it's going to be huge. It always will. After defeating Jonathan Gresham at Death Before Dishonor to become the new ROH champion, Claudio Castagnoli said at the post-show media scrum, "This title is my first world championship. I said this before, that I could be here and tell you guys what I'm going to do, this and that. I feel like there are a lot of people that talk a lot. I like to let my actions speak, so it is going to be a hell of a run. Hope you guys are ready." At the San Diego Comic-Con, Cody Rhodes spoke with Sam Roberts about his usage of the word belt on WWE programming. As Roberts noted, others may not get off so easily saying it, to which Rhodes replied, "They can fine me $1,000 every time I say belts. I'm fine with that. If they give me a title belt, sure, it's a championship, but it also physically goes around your waist. Those are great belts." During a conversation on Rene Dupri's podcast about the Vince McMahon hush money scandal, former WWE star Paul London recalled the late Ashely Massaro's words regarding the former chairman and CEO. "I do remember specifically, many times when she would be crying to me because Vince was propositioning her to fly in the jet with them like Kevin Dunn. Bucktooth Bucky would be telling her that she has to fly in the jet with them. They'd always put the divas up at like the TV hotel or whatever, you know. He'd been knocking on her door and, trying to get her to answer. It's just like I'm shocked this Vince stuff is just now coming out. I haven't looked up on a lot of it. I just would rather not, but I'm surprised it hasn't come out within the last 10 years. But it just goes to show how afraid people are of that power dynamic, where they're so fearful of losing their job. And it's like, what does that say about you if you're protecting this 90-year-old corpse with a thong tan line just because he's a billionaire? I mean, it's like I said, money changes people. with Maxine Dupri stepping in for Max to manage the Maximum Males. Fightful has given an update in this segment being changed. Max Dupri was unbooked last minute, and people associated with the segment weren't given real concrete information on his status as of now. McMahon had taken particular interest in the Maximum Male model's angle, as it was all his idea. Mason Mansour were said to have been on board with the angle, but Eli Drake had some reservations about things. Ringside News would confirm that his time on Smackdown has come to an end. Max Dupri had a brief run on the WWE main roster, but that's over. We have confirmed that Max is out. Also, we were told that there is doubt that he was cut out for the main roster, and he lacked people skills. Take that as you will. With Vince McMahon retiring, it was said that many changes were seen from the most recent Smackdown. As Fightful said, there were plenty of people that we spoke to that believed that the impending leadership may not want to deviate from Vince McMahon's vision out of respect, but think there are small improvements to be made that can make a big difference. Speaking of McMahon stepping away from his duties, stars in the company were apparently shocked. One WWE talent said that it shouldn't have taken a scandal for a shakeup, and it made a lot of people wonder who was next to go, especially in Vince's inner circle. Another talent said, "I'm not banking on anything being permanent. Triple H was phased out, Stephanie was phased out, Bruce left the company for a decade, Johnny has been in and out, and none of them has the power Vince does. I'm not convinced that he can actually stay away, especially if he feels the heat has died down." On Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer spoke about WWE not wanting to make big changes so as to not scare investors. Don't expect any major changes, because right now they want to show Wall Street and the stockholders that everything is stable and fine. They don't want big changes. They want everything to be looking as stable as possible to make it look like it's a smooth transition and that the company is in good hands and doesn't fall apart without Vince McMahon. When it comes to changes for WWE, it seems Bruce Prichard is no longer only the temporary head of creative, with Ringside News reporting. We've had a lot of questions about who will be the final decider for WWE creative now that Vince McMahon is out. The answer might concern some, but others will be interested too. We have confirmed that Bruce Prichard is, in theory, by title, head of creative. Facing the Briscoes at Death Before Dishonor, FTR's Dax Harwood landed on his head, which led to ringside physicians checking on him. Commenting on this, Harwood said during the post-show media scrum, "It's Saturday, so it depends on the day. I'm dealing with something different every day. Tonight, Jay gave me a Saito suplex. That is a very dangerous move, landed kinda high. Hurt my shoulder a while back at Forbidden Door, and the doctor asked me before the match how I was feeling. Told him the truth. He said, I just want to make sure everything's going to be okay for tonight. We did all the tests, and everything was cool, but as soon as that happened, he just took it upon himself to come to check to make sure the shoulder and the labrum and my neck and everything was cool. I'm okay on Saturday night. Ask me tomorrow morning and we'll see." With it previously reported that AEW is expected to have most of their top stars out of action back in time for their All Out event in Chicago, Tony Khan refused to comment on CM Punk potentially returning there. He's doing well in his recovery. He was at Comic-Con today. I didn't see his panel. We obviously saw that Bryan Danielson announced his return there. I don't know exactly what Punk said at the panel, but I know he's doing well in his recovery. I don't want to scoop anything he might have said at the Comic-Con panel, but he's doing well. He's not behind in his recovery. I wouldn't want to step on anything he's doing, but I haven't spoken to him since he did the panel. But going into the panel, he's on track and we look forward to a great unification match when he's back, whoever the interim champion is. I can't rule it out, but I also can't promise. I don't want to say anything when it comes to somebody's recovery from a real serious injury. He's really battling hard to get back as soon as he possibly can. At the post-show media scrum for the recent ROH event, Khan also explained his recent tweet, which seemed to take a shot at McMahon no longer being a CEO in pro wrestling. I was referencing that AEW Rampage was on, and just the fact that of the big major companies, who I would consider the big three, now I am the longest tenured CEO, of course. I think if you consider pro wrestling, it's a fair statement. I just thought it's a factual statement, a note to promote Rampage, but that's all it was. I can't say anything else about it. Obviously, hopefully got some eyeballs on Rampage, and I really care about Rampage a lot. On a Friday, sometimes I will try to promote Rampage in fun ways. back to potential AEW returns, the status of the American Dragon was discussed on Wrestling Observer Radio. As Brian Alvarez noted, Bryan Danielson has been cleared and he'll be returning to Dynamite on Wednesday, where he'll be facing Daniel Garcia. With it previously said that Vince McMahon announcing his retirement led to Brock Lesnar initially canceling plans to be on Smackdown last Friday, he would end up on the show to take out Theory. Explaining the deal made with Lesnar to ensure his return, Dave Meltzer pointed out that it was imperative that they got Lesnar back. The basic gist was, the most famous guy on the roster who was the main guy advertised for the show on Boston, all of a sudden, he walks out. That's the worst that could happen. They made sure he came back. I was not told what the deal was to get him back. The worst thing they could have is that Vince left and it's anarchy. Brock leaving and SummerSlam changing would have been an absolute disaster at this time, so they made sure that did not happen. Before the recent ROH pay-per-view, former champion Jonathan Gresham had a meeting with Tony Khan where he cussed out the AEW president. Jonathan Gresham asked for his release Saturday ahead of the ROH Death Before Dishonor show that saw him lose the championship. We're told that there was a lack of communication between the company and Gresham leading up to the weekend, and Gresham was said to have felt disrespected by this. Among other things, we learned that the lack of time for the world title match was a tipping point as well. We're told that Gresham finally procured a meeting with Tony Khan before the show. He was said to have communicated the frustration that led to him cussing out Khan. And this was your Pro Wrestling News Update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.